and welcome to yet another episode of The Grind with me, your host, Hibak Saeed. This week, we're going to be concentrating on hand skills. What are some of the things that are happening in this particular sector? We always concentrate on white-collar jobs. What about the skills that require your hands? We have two entrepreneurs. Let's take a dive into that. As we hinted at earlier, this week we're going to be focusing on skills, and what better way to put your hands at work than to do pottery, and that's going to be our business of this particular week. We already have John, who's just going to be showing us how exactly this particular skill, is put to task. We're going to be making bowls from this at the end of the day. The very first part of this is kneading. John, what does this business entail, especially when it comes to skills? How do you use your skill to make a business in pottery?
One is just to find a gap you have to fill in the society.
Okay.
The guy is looking for something that's unique, something you can have an attachment with. You have been into a supermarket and you see so many things that look alike. You visit your friend and you say, oh, have this one.
Right.
So you're just looking for that exquisite piece, be it in tableware, be it in decor.
Right.
That is us. Right. We come turn dust, we give you something that's so unique, different from whatever you saw in the supermarket.
Right.
Imagine.
Right. Yeah. Now, how have you used this particular skill? A lot of people usually veer towards white-collar jobs, but you need a lot of creativity when you're making these bowls, and then you sell it even to the export market. How has your journey been?
Look, it's so basic. It's doing something that is not out there, that 1, 2, 3 are not doing. Then know that this does not require a lot of skills. It just requires basic skills. You run as you go, right? It's not that complex. It doesn't even require papers from the university, colleges, or what have you. It's just come the way you are. Today I give you a ramp of clay. I just throw it on the potter's wheel. Magic. You have something. Then from whatever you make, we build on it. You can imagine. From there now, you just look for market for such products, because there are guys out there looking for something. I own something made from, something I can own and say that this is handmade. It's not machine produced, because we are diverting from things that are done by machines to something you can make, something that is handmade. You get me? Right. Yeah.
There's the sentimentality aspect. This is something that you can make for yourself, something that you can sell to other people, and of course it has a lot of customers. When you compare the local scene to the international scene, where do you sell your products best?
I would say much more on the international market, because you see the value they have attached on this product. Right. It's more on the export market than on the local market.
Yes, but I'm sure there are a lot of benefits when it comes to your business. What are some of the benefits that you get?
One, creating jobs. Right. Yeah, creating jobs in such a country where everyone is saying there are no jobs. When you create jobs for 2, 3, you're opening opportunities. You come around, you can go open your studio, go teach, you create jobs. Right. That's one that we pride in. Once you open and offer opportunity to these guys coming from college, they want a place to do attachment, internship. You come mentor them. Once they get a skill, they go out there, they're independent. You see, and against therapy.
Right. It is actually.
Yeah, it's
I'm
therapy.
already relaxed right now.
How it relaxes your mind. Yeah.
So from this, we're seeing there are a lot of processes involved. I have, the very first step of this process, and of course it goes to this, it turns into this, you have this, and then you have the final product right here. How long does it take to make one of these bowls?
It takes 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
3 solid
for
weeks.
For this?
Yeah.
All right.
3 solid weeks. Can you imagine if it was in a factory, to get this bowl, maybe in a minute, you'll have that one bowl. So in a factory scenario, they can even do 1,000 bowls like this. But if I'm working with 2 of my guys, I can only do maybe 50 pieces of these bowls in a day, and then again let them at least dry all that process. Then after 3 weeks, now you have your item ready. Yeah, because it involves processes.
Right. For the creatives who want to come into this particular business, of course there's the starter. This particular establishment is not a starter per se, because you've said, the only machine that makes the best clay within this country. For a starter, what would I need to start this business?
One, you need a potter's wheel. That one is a must. Whatever I have here, you can see pieces come through this machine, all right? You throw them using the potter's wheel, whether you're doing a mug, you're doing a bowl, you're doing a plate, you must have this potter's wheel. Yeah, once you have the potter's wheel, the next piece you might need, or the equipment you might need, is a kiln. So important. Reason, once your item is ready, we bake them.
Right.
We bake them in a kiln. So a kiln is a must-have. Right. Whether it is fired by electricity, by gas, those are options. Yeah, it's a must-have because they must get in there. Right. Yeah, those two is a must. Then the color, of course. Because once you're done with your piece, you have to do the color. We call it the glaze. Okay. Yeah. For the glaze, now that is optional. It's not a must-have. You can either do by dipping or by spraying. Right.
And now that we are concluding this particular, conversation, what would you say are some of the things you would tell to people to encourage them to come into this particular business? Just a one-liner, how would you encourage people?
The market is appreciating something that is handmade. We are moving from machine mass-produced items to something you can have an identity with. Where can you get such items? Is through things that are handmade. You can only get things that are handmade in this industry. Pottery, for instance, doing it with the hand, you get something that is so exquisite. Right. So there's a wide market and opportunities. Guys are looking for stuff like this. You can tell how unique they are. You have ever dined in a restaurant and you ask, oh my God, where did they get this dinner set from? Right. Look at the back, ceramic. This is where business is.
Right. This is where business is. That is John the Potter telling us about his craft, how he uses his skill to gain money. Of course, we go to another skill-based entrepreneur. We want to know how exactly the sector is doing and how people are making money from it. And right from our first entrepreneur of the week, we are moving to our second entrepreneur of the week. We're focusing on skill-based businesses. If you think skills, you think painting. And we're going to be doing it very practically today with Elvis here. He's just going to be showing us how to paint, and you're going to be telling us about your business. So how did you start as a business? How did you go into painting? What inspires you?
I'd say I tried turning my talent into a career.
Right.
Basically, first of all, I studied it in Kenyatta University, okay, where I graduated in 2022.
Right.
And from there, I decided to push art as a source of income, basically, using
okay,
art to generate or to make money for me and use it to pay my bills, basically.
A lot of people usually, they're skeptical about artistry and using it as a means of earning a living. How has it been for you?
It's quite challenging, I'd say. But I'd say Kenyans are now have now embraced and appreciated art, right, as compared to the earlier times when I started. But now the progress that we've made so far, or that I've made so far, here with my work, I feel like it's going a long way, and the journey is still beautiful, I'd say.
Right, and all of these pieces are your pieces. Let's say you're looking at, capitalizing off of them. Are there, art exhibitions that you usually go to? Is your craft appreciated?
Sure, yeah. I'd say every year there is either an art pop-up or an art market that we may tend to apply, right? Me and my friends, that is. Right. And from there, we'd move on to another, let's say, exhibition. So every year after finished working on my craft, I'd create a catalog, an online catalog, and circulate it among my friends, families, and potential buyers and clients that I have or that I've met.
Is this something you see yourself doing in the long run when you are giving advice to people who are going into this business? Would it be something that you would advise on?
Yeah, it's something that art is something that I would advise for someone to pursue, and it's just more like you need to know where the market is and target what you need to achieve to those individuals who really appreciate art. So don't set, when you're coming into the business, don't set your prices too high. You'll have to start from an amateur level, basically, like a beginner's level. You can't just go to the pro league and want to play like a pro. So you'll have to start as where your worth is. Once you know your worth, you'll have to move slowly, and with time, you'll eventually get to what you want to achieve.
Right. And upskilling, of course, is very important. As an artist, you must always build up on your skills, and doing it more does help. But do you have other means of upskilling? Do you take short courses? Where are these short courses? How can people build on their skills?
I'd say if you want to build more on your skills, you just have to, it's more like it's a creative world. So your work is what will tend to speak more than me telling you that I'm an artist if you haven't seen my work. But if I show you my work, you'll believe that I'm an artist. So you'll have to keep on doing more and more of something new, basically. Have a canvas that you're still working on, or something that you're only as good as your last piece. That's what I was told.
Where other businesses usually have, seasons, high seasons and low seasons, for you guys, you have creative blocks, and that could, get in the way of you earning a living. How do you work with that?
I'd say I believe you can't really tell when the market is good and when the market is not as great. But if you keep on with your craft and you perfect it to a point that you feel you're good at it and your clients appreciate it as much, they will always come back, or they will recommend somebody else to you. And from there, that's when you get from your first client to your next client, and after that, the cycle keeps on repeating. Can't really tell.
And as we start to conclude this particular conversation and our different canvases, you're clearly doing better than me right now. What would you advise some of the grinders who are watching you right now, are wondering how you got so far? What would you tell them now that they are coming up and they want to do what you do?
What I can tell them is you just have to push with the creative bit more. Like, that is who you are. That is, you're an artist. You're only an artist because you create. So the more you create, the more your work will tend to speak for itself and be seen out there by so many people. So you'll keep on creating and keep on advertising on social media to your friends. Like, you can post as one image several times, but create more. Don't just rely on the old piece, repeating it again and again, but you just need to keep on creating again and again.
What would be the advice that you would give to people who are coming into this particular art form? What would you tell them?
What I can tell them is just to identify their craft, what they're comfortable in, and make sure that they've grown or practiced more on that. There's so much to explore with watercolor, which people are afraid of. There's so much to explore with pencils, with acrylics, to oil. So don't be moved by what your friend is doing or what. You may admire someone else's work, sure. Learn from him, ask him questions and whatnot, but the medium that you're comfortable in, just aim to better it even more. Exhaust it as much as you feel like you've exhausted it, and then move on to the next one if you not feel like that's not the one for you.
Right, progress is always important.
It's just the creativity bit.
It's just like the concept of Kaizen, constant improvement. Make sure whatever you choose, you do upskill on it, and you could be adventurous and you could try new things, but make sure that whatever you are doing, whatever venture you choose, that you always upskill in it so that you can make the most from it. That was our second entrepreneur of the week. We go for a very short break. When we come back, we do have our analyst of the week. Don't go too far.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na Nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus niko niwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
to finishing touches, witness
And right from our very short break, of course, we have our expert of the week. We're just looking into skill-based businesses. How exactly do they fare on? How can they thrive? If you could start by introducing yourself. What is your name? How long have you been doing your skill-based business?
My name is Purity Kimodo. I run a few businesses, and one of them is a car dealership on Kiambu Road, and I also have a training consultancy where we train mostly on financial fitness and entrepreneurship. We also have a clothing line where we make clothes, African and tailor-made generally. Now, skill-based is very important because for the past, let's say 12 years, since I left official employment, out here you actually just use skills more. Of course, you need your brain with you, but the skills is what count. Can you sell? What can you do with your hands? That actually basic skills that any other person would have, an average Kenyan would have, is what is required out here, especially in the business world.
Right. The informal sector does add a lot to the Kenyan economy, more than even the formal sector, one would say. How would you say creativity and innovation is being used, especially for these businesses, to propel the economy?
I must say we have come from far, and gone are the days when we were told go to school, work hard, get a good job, get employed, and retire in that job, not changing jobs. Now things are different because the digital space is here with us. It has changed a lot of things. Number one, even the way we market stuff, it's different. Those soft skills that would ideally not be important are now important. Now, Kenyans generally are very creative. They are plumbers, they are electrical guys, they are guys in Jengo. Those jobs actually here, which we consider as not very important, you'll find that elsewhere, especially in the developed world, are a major thing. You'll find that masonry are earning very good money. I have seen a few things that in the past few years that have really, got me interested. I have seen schools teaching people home care because nowadays there are old people who need to be taken care of at home. When you look at that job generally, the truth is you need to use your hands. I mean, a Form 2 dropout, a Form 4 dropout would do it. But the encouragement by the government, even to transition from high school, whether you got a D minus or whatever you got, you can actually go to a college, a TVET college, and do something. I'm a big advocate of education, and I believe even a D minus guy, which I have done before, I pluck them from the village, not in a big way, very small way, get them to a technical school. They're equipped with skills, actually just 1 year, and that person is now self-sustained. They don't have to be in the village doing, So the government has really worked to make sure that skills are important in our economy, and it is true they are important.
Right. And when you look at the rates of unemployment in the country, it is becoming a menace. A lot of the youth in the country do not have jobs, and these skill set jobs usually do help. Do you believe that maybe there are things that we could be doing in order to ensure that we take in a huge number of the unemployed youth into the skill sector?
I totally believe that, first of all, there may not be jobs, especially the white-collar jobs. They are not there. They are not enough, that's what I would say, in our economy. But going by what Kenya is, Kenya purely run, not really purely, a big percentage of our GDP is driven by the SMEs. SMEs who? Someone who owns a hardware. No one will come to your hardware and ask the type of people, what education background do you have? What you need to understand is just how to run a business. It is true we do not have enough jobs, but one thing we have is enough work in this country. Actually, I was surprised to hear that the productivity in Kenya is very low, actually below 30%. You can imagine. That means on a typical day, if you're supposed to work 9 hours a day, if you're talking about 30%, we are talking about people are generally working 3 hours only a day. Work is there, jobs may not be enough, but there's enough work. But if we look keenly, especially in the entrepreneurship world, then you will discover there's something you can do. You can sell something online. You can make something. You can do something extra with your hands and earn a living. Yeah.
Right, when it comes to those jobs, you find that most of them are very flexible, one, and there's a sense of fulfillment. It can be, very rewarding when you do these particular jobs. What would you say about that?
That is very true. They are flexible because you see, if you're applying your skills, this is not an 8-to-5 kind of a job. You have a project, you're working on a construction site, you're working on a plumbing project, for example, an electrical project. So that is something you can organize. The only thing I would urge people is when you make the money, because these jobs are not sometimes very continuous. They are very what did I say, temporal. They come and go.
Right. It's like the gig economy.
It is, exactly. So you have to save for tomorrow. You earn today, then you have to figure out between now until the next job, this money has to sustain me, because that is one of the things that as Kenyans we really miss out. But the flexibility is good, but also it requires a lot of discipline. Let's take it seriously, because like I've said, production levels in Kenya is very low, and that is something actually about just discipline. We need to wake up and work every single day.
Right. Yeah. A lot of these skill-based jobs need you to add up onto it, and upskilling is very important. What would you, advise the people taking up these jobs? How could they improve on these skills over time?
One of the things we must do is to continually learn. There are new equipments coming. Think about it this way. Think about Kenya. We already have issues with healthcare. But can you imagine some of the issues we have sometimes with skills? Because we have doctors, the equipments come, they can't operate the equipment. So this is it about the skilled labor. You must keep skilling. You must keep learning new things. You must upgrade yourself. Go to YouTube, learn something, learn how to do something. I have seen equipments, for example, doing welding from a school in Kikuyu, where they are using tech to do welding. Very elaborate. It's something I had never seen. But if now we stop using the normal jebe, the way we farm with the jebe and we use a lot of labor hours, and now start mechanizing our way of doing things, I think we'll be in a very good place.
The mindset of people, differs. When it comes to these jobs, a lot of people usually demean them. They think very lowly of them. But it is a, sector that is growing more and more. As an expert in this particular sector, where do you see, or how do you see people changing their mindsets so that they can, take up these jobs more?
It is good that you have mentioned the mindset. Actually, what I discover, most of our Kenyan problems are actually a mindset thing. This is what I keep asking people. People who leave this country, I have never done, let's say, a nanny job, for example, in Kenya, but I'll go do it in another country. Well, we can bring money for it. But the truth is, it's a mindset thing. You think that being a nanny in Kenya, or being, someone taking care of the sick, it's a low job. If you go, a few times when I visit the US, one of the things I've seen in that country is the way people honor jobs. Work is respected, because work generally is dignified. It doesn't matter what you're doing. As long as you're productive, you're able to feed your family. So we need to get that thing out of our head that there's a low job. Actually, there's no low or high job. You'll find someone doing a skilled job using normal skills is earning better than an accountant, for example, or someone seated in the office. So the minute we have that mindset in this country, I think we'll be moving to the right direction. But I think we are really changing. You'll find people are now appreciating things that you can do beside what you learned in school.
Right. Yeah. And when it comes to policies and regulations, of course, they do define different ways. Maybe some people would think they are encouraged, some people would think they are not. Even when it comes to the schooling system, a lot of the time skills are not really, they're not emphasized upon. Do you believe that maybe there are policy changes that we should have in this country?
Yeah, it's true. And there may be many problems even with the CBC system that we have right now. But one of the things I appreciate about that CBC is training kids to do something with their hands. These children are even taught to go clean utensils, learn how to cook. The things we naturally did when we were growing up, but we didn't know they were skills, things we just took for granted. But you discover as you grow up, even with all the education that we get, then you need something that you can actually do with your hands.
Right, and there could be someone who's watching this right now, a grinder maybe, who is thinking of a skill. What would you say, you know, conclusively as we end this particular conversation? What would you tell them they should take as the first few steps to realize this dream?
So one, of course, we like talking about passion, but sometimes I say if passion can't feed you, then it's not worth. Especially in our country, people are passionate about different things, but if it's not bringing unga, it's not bringing food at the table, sometimes you may think about what can I do to bring food at the table. So what I encourage people, even when they finish Form 4 and have actually passed to go to the university, the waiting period, learn one skill. Learn how to make nails, for example. Look at how we have many beauty parlors here. Look at, I have told you I learned a cloth manufacturing business. Finding tailors is a big problem, and I'm telling you they earn very well. You give them very good money because there are people who just want something done for them. And in Kenya, because we are all we are running away from skilled based jobs and we just want office jobs, so you find there's already a gap.
Right, thank you so much, Purity. And of course, we are learning something new every single day here on The Grind. You could learn a skill that could help you earn, you know, a side gig, a side hustle, could help you, you know, compensate or add on to your earnings every single month. This week, we have been talking about skills. Of course, we had our expert to give you tidbits. I hope you have learned something new. Thank you so much for being a part of The Grind. Till next week, same time, same place. My name is Hibak Said.
We value your feedback.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.